Good morning and welcome to the Oasis Center for Spiritual Living, where we come together as one, providing spiritual tools for daily living. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Reverend Tucker. I'm the senior minister here at the Oasis, and I have this great team that God has loaned me to make all of this happen. So I'd like to introduce them. First off, let me introduce Faith, who today's topic is coming of age, because Faith just came of age. She turned 18 on Friday. Faith has been my assistant most of her life, starting out when she was a little baby sitting on the podium while I did announcements. But she has become my official assistant, 3 years now? 4 years, something like that?
4.
Yep, 4 years. And now she is 18. And so we're going to be celebrating Faith today in a lot of ways. We're going to talk about coming of age. It's not just 18, but we're going to talk about coming of age. So thank you, Faith, for being here. We love you. She's the person behind the scenes that says everything, or does everything, I should say, so that I can say what I need to say. And then we have my partner in crime, the wise and powerful Oz. And he is my first baby practitioner. He took all of his training with me, except for one class at Mile High, and was my board president for like 11 years. Then he moved off to Florida, and we lost him for a short time. But now that with this technology, we have you back with us. And, in Florida, he's representing. And he's going to be praying us in and praying us out. And he's available at the end for our 1-minute miracle, just to let you know. Thank you for being here, Oz. We love you. And then guess who's back for a special appearance? Tina Giuffre. Tina has been, Albertina Giuffre, we call her Tina, has been singing in our church since like 2000. So 21 years. Wow, that's a long time. Anyway, she's going to be singing today, and we're excited to have her here with us. So thank you, Tina, for being here. We love you.
You're welcome. Love you too. Happy birthday, Faith.
All right. So as I said, today's topic is coming of age. We're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like, coming of age. All right. If you're here, say hi, hello, good morning, however you want to greet us. When we're in a facility, I can look out and see who's here, but I don't have that ability here. So I appreciate you letting us know that you're here by saying hi, hello, or good morning. Let's see. If you'd like to do a watch party, there is a watch party button. It's a great way for your friends to know what kind of services they can expect. And you can talk back and forth with them for their questions because you can't disturb anybody, right? So click on that watch party button and invite all your friends. All right, I'd like to invite you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Allow the service to uplift and inspire you as we move into our centering song.
Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence presence of God is in this place.
The presence of God right here, right now, in this very moment, wherever and whenever you are, for God is always present. God is everywhere. God is at all time, through all things. The presence of God as the one source that uplifts and upholds all of creation, all of existence, and each and every one of us, living in us, breathing us, making our bodies function, making our world spin in its orbit, always perfect, always complete, always whole. I know this wholeness permeates every single moment, including this one right now. And I give thanks that that is so. And I let it be, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Oz. This next song, if you know the words, is from Reverend Karen. God, Reverend Fairy Elaine Silver. We are all one, and that is the theme of our philosophy. We are all one. If you don't know the words, learn them. It's a great way for you to feel tapped in to the oneness of all life. And if you do know the words, sing them loud and sing them proud, because you can't bother anybody, right? Here we go.
We are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. I hear it and know it, my being. Spirit is all I am seeing. For God is all there is. Grateful am I to be living, open to what I have seen, honoring what I've been given, sharing now what I believe. I remember the oneness around me. I surrender to infinite light, knowing the love that's surrounding me is within me by day and night. And we are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. Yes, we are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it.
Oh my goodness. I miss the choir. I really miss our choir. All right. Say hi, hello, good morning, however you like. Just let us know that you're here. If you like something that you hear, whether that's something Tina sings or something I say or something that Oz prays, use the like button. And if you love something that you hear, of course, send us hearts. We love to get love. And if something really strikes you as powerful, we like that wow button. Give us the feedback that helps us know we're on track. So, all right. Let's see here. Without further ado, we're going to have Tina singing a special song for Faith's birthday. For Faith's coming of age party, as it is.
Well, hope you can get to party a little bit, Faith. Happy birthday. Sorry, can you hear that? Sorry, my speaker is not connecting, so give me a second.
We can hear it just fine.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, let me try again.
Okay.
I'm coming up, so you better get this party started. Get this party started on a Saturday night. Everybody's waiting for me to arrive. Sending out the message to all of my friends. We'll be looking flashy in my Mercedes Benz. I got lots of style, got my gold diamond rings. I can go for miles if you know what I mean. I'm coming up, so you better get this party started. I'm coming up, so you better get this party started. Pumping up the volume, breaking down to the beat. Cruising through the west side, you'll be checking the scene. Boulevard is freaking as I'm coming up fast. I'll be burning rubber, you'll be kissing my. Pull up to the bumper, get out of the car. License plates are stunner, #1 superstar. I'm coming up, so you better get this party started. Coming up, you better. Coming up, so you better get this party started. Yeah, it's coming to H. Yeah, 18. Boy, we all want to be 18 again, don't we? Make a my connection as I enter the room. Everybody's chilling as I set up the groove. Pumping up the volume with a brand new beat. Everybody's dancing and they're dancing with me. I'm your operator, you can call anytime. I'll be your connection to the party line. I'm coming up, so you better get this party started. I'm coming up, so you better get this party started. I'm coming up, I'm coming up, so you better get this party started. Coming up, you better. I'm coming up, so you better get this party started. Get this party started. Get this party started. Get this party started right now. Woohoo! Party on, Faith.
Thank you, Tina. That was awesome. You would not believe how hard it was to find a coming of age story that didn't have some kind of tragedy in it. It was like, oh yeah, that one's, oh no. Oh, well, that one, no, you know, and all we could find was something from like the 70s and 80s where, you know, people were coming of age a lot. So we thought that would be the perfect song. And Buddy was singing along, as you can hear in the background here. So welcome to your coming of age party, Faith.
Thank you.
All right, Buddy, that's enough. Nothing to bark at. All the other dogs have stopped barking. He thinks he's a dog. Whatever. He's a bird, in case you don't know. So what can Faith do now? Now that she's 18, she's legally responsible for her own actions. She can vote, since this act was passed in 1971, where, you know, they had the, Buddy, don't make me spray you, please. In 1971, they had all these people who were like, well, if I'm 18 and I can be forced into the military, why can't I vote, right? And so in 1971, they finally passed an act that said when you're 18, you can vote. Up to then, it was 21. And then you can join the military, obviously. There's more driving privileges, which I'm sure Faith is excited about. And then you must sign your tax forms for employment. Buddy, stop. Your juvenile record is now sealed. You're free to sign contracts, buy property, and establish credit. And the one that Faith is most excited about is she can get into clubs, right? That's the one you're most excited about, I know. But most of the coming of age films focus on the psychological and moral growth or transition of a protagonist from youth to adulthood. I mean, think about, like a coming of age, the experience can happen at any time during one's life, but most of the stories are about a child moving into adulthood. And, coming of age doesn't discriminate. So most often it happens when it's least expected. Convention tells us, blah, it is a defining moment in a child's life when the world somehow becomes his or her own. The world just became your own, Faith. And think about Harry Potter, for example. He was a young boy who had to grow up and learn to see the world and the people in it for what they truly were, right? And that's really, I think, the point of all of the coming of age. Some are 18, some are 21, some are graduation from either high school or college, or in my case, ministerial school. And so there's all these milestones that are along the way. But the main thing to keep in mind is that we don't want to take that step forward without recognizing that we are leaving something behind. Now, we've been doing a lot of work on change and release and that kind of stuff for the last few months. And truly, Faith now has to release her childhood. So there's going to be some grief coming up around that, just so you know. It doesn't matter. Like all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can't be a kid anymore. And it'll hit you. It may not be hitting you right at the moment, but it will hit you. And the thing to remember about that is to let it happen. Let it sink in that that's really what's going on, and allow yourself to feel that grief. Now, I'm not saying, like the Bible says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. It doesn't say I'll pitch a tent there. So I don't want you to stay in that grief, but I do want you to acknowledge it. And that happens whether we're talking about marriage or graduating from school. When you graduate from college, in high school, I thought it was really exciting because I could go work. Well, Faith is already working 2 jobs. So that doesn't really have anything to do with today. But I can remember when I was 18, I was so excited because then I could work. Not that I didn't have a job, but I worked at Jack in the Box, stuff like that. And I was so excited that I could get a real job at 18. So I worked in a real estate company called Danes Incorporated. And it was actually kind of fun because I had Great Danes sitting with their heads in my lap all day long, because the owner, I was the only one in the office, and he would bring his 3 Great Danes in, and they would keep me company all day long. So there's that. But then there was the part of me that said, wow, I'm not going to see my friends anymore. Right? Wow. And here I am 50 years later, by the way, sitting on the reunion committee for our 50th reunion, which is coming up in 2023. So you do get to see those people. Don't take that to, mean you're never going to see them again. So you do see them, but there's this part of you that goes, wow, my life has just totally changed. And I want us to learn to embrace those changes, because I do know they're bittersweet at times, because you do get so many more privileges at 18, for example, or when you graduate high school, or when you graduate college, or when you turn 21. We get a lot more privileges, but I also don't want you to go, okay, now 18's done. Let me move on to 21, right? Because I want you to enjoy this time. Every stage of life is very important. It contributes to who we become in the end. And it is all part of that beingness, that human doingness that we have on this earth, but the spiritual beingness of our life. And the way we express it in the various forms of our life, or the various stages of our life, is really important. For instance, in the Native American traditions, the one I was taught in, which was the Ojibwe, we were taught that the first part of your life is all about exploring and getting new experiences, and just living your life, so that you understand, everything about life that you can at that age. And then the next phase is about getting power and money and attracting those things to you. And it's also the stage where you have children, and you get married and you have children. And it's that stage where you're accumulating experiences now. And then the third stage, usually around 34, is when you become spiritually mature. That's when spirituality becomes more important than anything else. And so each of those phases is very, very important. In the goddess traditions, they talk about that as the maiden and the goddess and the crone. And all of those are very, very important. So I want you to enjoy. I want you to experience what 18 is before you jump into 21. Because I know I've been there. I always was looking towards that date when I would graduate high school, or I would become 21, or I would graduate college, or I would, graduate school of ministry. And when I graduated the school of ministry, there was this point at which I found myself standing at the pulpit going, wow, okay, now I've accomplished everything I set out to do. What now? Right? And so I don't want you to feel that later. I want you to enjoy all of that as it comes to you. And then, of course, as a minister, then the next thing I looked for was my ordination, which took me 7 years. Some people get ordained in 2 years. It took me 7 years. And then after the ordination, it was another one of those, oh, okay, so now what? So because I've done that, because I've looked at the future all of my life, I want to caution you about not getting stuck in the past, grieving for your past, and not getting stuck in planning for the future so that you don't enjoy where you are right now. They call it the past, present, and future because the present is a gift. And I want you to celebrate that. Now, I'm not just talking to Faith here because, again, it doesn't have really anything to do with age. It has everything to do with us moving from one reality to another reality, spiritually or emotionally, taking that next step. For instance, when you get married, I don't know how many of you know the story about how I got married, but I was living with Lynn for 1.5 years, and I didn't really want to get married. I was one of those people that looked at the life of men and thought, I don't want to be a housewife. I don't want to cook and clean and raise babies. That isn't what I want to do. And my brothers had so much more freedom than I would have as a wife and mother. So I was looking at that and going, yeah, I don't want to do that. No domestic diva for me. And then Lynn got this gig to go on a USO tour all over Europe and Turkey and Istanbul, I believe. And I wanted to go so bad. And the USO wouldn't let me go unless we were married. So we got married. 2 weeks after we got married, they canceled the tour. Good joke, grandfather. And so I say that because I do know that we used to look at it like it's a piece of paper. What does it matter? But it is a step. And when you make that step, there are things that you leave behind. And there are things that you celebrate because you can now do. But there is, again, that little piece of grieving for what was once. And so it doesn't matter whether you're 18 or 21 or 50 or 60 or 70. It's always going to be the same thing. This coming of age that happens, whether it's a physical and legal coming of age, or if it's a spiritual coming of age where you just notice all of a sudden that life is different than it used to be. You don't react to things the same way because now you're emotionally grounded in your faith. Your spirituality becomes the anchor that allows you to poke around in the world and have these experiences without worrying about what's going to come of you, right? And you know that when you're feeling that grief, you know this too shall pass. And that's the experience that I want to focus our attention on today. There are 2 stories in the Bible that represent that. One is let's do the first one first, I think. Moses was, he was a youth. He was a baby when his mother abandoned him in the Nile for his own good. She knew that the Egyptians were coming for their children, or especially their sons. And so she set him afloat in the Nile. And this Egyptian princess picked him up and raised him as her own. So the story of Moses goes from him being an infant through his childhood to all of a sudden him becoming aware of what's going on around him. He was entitled because of being royalty, because he was raised in the princess's household as her son. And all of a sudden, one day he looks around and he sees how the slaves are being treated, and those are his people. He knows this because his mother became the nursemaid for him. And so she was able to educate him. But he moves now from that youth to an adult perspective where he begins to see what's actually happening in the world around him. And then he goes on further to actually go out into the desert and seek God's wisdom, which he finds in a burning bush, of all things. And he goes on to free his people. And that whole story is all about coming of age. It's all about him realizing the world that he lives in and what it actually is. Kind of like Harry Potter, really. It's the same story, kind of. Although Harry Potter went to school, consciously. He went to school. He didn't know what was in store for him, just like Moses didn't know what was in store for him out in the desert. And then there's the story. These are both from the Old Testament, by the way. Then there's the story of Esther. Now, Esther was a child bride. A lot of times they don't talk about that. But back in the old days, they used to marry off their daughters when they were like 13. And she became a queen married to the Syrian king. And he had Haman, one of his deputies, whatever you want to call him, had his ear. And Haman convinced him that all the Jews had to die. And Esther, realizing that she was a Jew, realized that that could mean her too. But because she was the king's wife, it wasn't likely that that would happen to her. I don't think the king actually even thought about whether she was Jewish or not. And so he put this proclamation out there that all Jews must die. So she asked people to pray for her. She prayed and prayed and prayed. And finally, she stepped up to the king and said, "You realize if you kill all the Jews, then I must die too, because I am a Jew." And the king, horrified by that, took back the proclamation and got rid of Haman, because he realized that it was a plot to get rid of the queen, really. And so she came of age in that moment where she put aside her own safety for the good of her people. And that's what coming of age really means. It means that you now see a bigger picture than you saw as a child. The world is yours for the taking, for sure. But it also means that you have a higher responsibility. When you move from being a child into adulthood, or you move from growing up a certain way and then finally reaching that age of spiritual maturity, when that happens, there's a deeper responsibility to the world. And as that happens, all of us get it. I mean, I'm 66. Now, I don't know too many people who are my age that haven't gotten it. I'm sure they're out there. I know of one in particular. But I'm just saying, like, all of us get it sooner or later. But my job, I feel like, is for me to give you that leg up, whether you're 18 or 21 or 40 or 50 or 60 or 70. I feel like it's my job to help you get a leg up. Kind of like, have you ever watched how somebody helps someone get on a horse? They put their hand down there and they put the boot in the hand and they give them a lift up. I kind of feel like that's my job, because I know that the world sometimes looks a little crazy. And sometimes we have a really hard time getting out of the way it's been before. I mean, COVID's a perfect example. Like, we all want it to return to normal. Well, it's never going to be the way it was. And our grieving over it being the way it was and wanting it to be different doesn't change anything. All it does is keep us stuck in our resistance to the change, you see. Now, because I'm a a kinesthetic person, in my classes, I always like to do something verbally so that there's an audience signal people get, visually, so people who are vision really oriented will get the picture. And I always like to do something for the feelers like me, the kinesthetics. All right. So don't do this if you have a problem with your arm or any, pain. You don't want to do this if you have any pain. But I want you to do something with me real quick here. If you are in good shape in your arms, if you have carpal tunnel or something like that, don't do this. I want you to take your hand and bend it back as far as you can without causing any pain. Now, I'd like you to close your eyes and just relax. Take in a deep, deep breath. Hold it and release. And I want you to just kind of tickle your arm. Just sort of tickle it. Allow yourself to feel comfortable. Take another nice deep breath. Hold it and release. Keep massaging or tickling your arm. Just let it feel very, very comfortable. Don't strain or stress. Just hold it there and tickle it. And take in one last deep cleansing breath all the way from the belly. Hold it and release. And now I would like you to open your eyes and take your hand and pull that hand back again. And I want you to see how much further it has gone. Okay, release your hand. I didn't forget this time. So what that says to you is that when we're in resistance, there's pain. Ram Dass always said, pain is mandatory, but suffering is optional. Meaning that we're going to feel pain in our lives, but we don't have to sit and suffer with it, right? And what happens when we resist any circumstance at all, whatever that is, anytime we resist it, we find ourselves in pain and we're suffering. And so the idea is to allow that experience to become spiritually nurturing for us. I can remember when we were studying the Native American way, the Red Path, I can remember learning the lesson about the wind being my ally. Because what happens when we go out and there's a cold wind? We clinch up, right? And then we're like, oh God, it's so cold. I don't want to be out here. And we get into this whole resistance stance. Well, imagine, if you will, that my teacher said, I want you to go out into that cold wind and let it in. I thought he was crazy. I really did. But I went out there and I did as I was told, because, if you're studying under somebody, you're supposed to listen to them. You're supposed to do what they tell you. So I go out there, and what was really weird is that the minute that I stopped resisting, the minute that I stopped going like this, trying to keep the cold out, I opened my arms like this. I opened my heart, opened everything up, and I let the wind go through me, and I wasn't cold at all. And in that moment, I made the wind my ally. Now, I've talked about this before, about the winds of change being something that we resist, but we need to make it our ally. Because in the moment where we allow those winds of change to blow through us, in that moment where we accept the reality that we're in and see it for what it is, at the moment that we're willing to learn from it and we open ourselves wide to it, at that moment, we are coming of age into our spiritual maturity. You see? So make the winds of change your ally. When you are grieving, let yourself grieve, but don't get stuck there. Be open to new experiences that are going to help you to get over that pain. You don't have to sit and suffer. You can alleviate the pain by stopping the struggle. Don't struggle against grief. Don't struggle against anger. Don't struggle against sadness. Don't struggle against change itself. Don't struggle against anything. Because the moment that you struggle, you put yourself in pain again and you're back to suffering. I think coming of age is when we reach a point where all of that flows through us, that we just understand God's presence is there, There is nothing to be afraid of. If I'm afraid of the future, if I'm afraid of something like this is what might happen, or if I feel like everybody is not treating me well, or if I'm in that place of anger towards the world, so that anything that anybody says I take personally, when I'm in that state, I'm in pain and I'm in suffering. But when I can accept that God flows through those other beings just as much as it does me, that it just flows through the whole situation, when I can relax and know that there is nothing that can harm me, that God is not going to change up on me, that God is simply in and through me and absolutely perfect in every way. And all I need to do is focus on that. And I open up, and it feels so good. Like when I opened up to that wind, it was crazy. It felt so good. And here all these years, I've been like, oh, no, it's too cold. I felt that in my bones almost. That relief, that release, that loving presence that was the wind itself. And what is the wind? But God, right? Everything is God. The wind is God. The cold is even God. Although I'm not great on cold. I still am pretty much don't like to be out in the cold, but I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to, like right now, Daisy has to go out front because she can't be with the other dogs. And so I go out front with her and it's pretty cold out there. There was one morning, it was only like 9 degrees or something, but they said that Google said that the wind chill made it feel like -5. And I'm out there with Daisy, letting her go to the bathroom. And I just realized in that moment that I wasn't going to freeze to death, that I was only out there for a few minutes, and that I could open up and let the cold in. And when I did that, it was so freeing. And that's really what I think coming of age is about. It's about having the freedom now to be who we are, to know that we are safe, to know that God's presence is in and through us, to know that nothing is more powerful than God. That's the moment at which that coming of age happens. That's the moment at which we make the transition, the psychological or moral growth or transition from that spiritual child to the spiritual adult. You see, has nothing to do with age. We concentrate way more on age in our society than other cultures do. Feel really blessed, Faith, that you don't live in some of these places that I read about. There was one jumping the cows. I don't even know. I didn't get a chance to read the whole article, but in order to come of age, you had to jump these cows. There was another one where you had to eat something really awful. There was another one, it's all crazy, but, there was another one where you had to be bit by this insect. Fire ant. No, it wasn't a fire ant. It was what kind of ant was it? Anyway, it's interesting when you go all the way around the world and you look at the traditions for coming of age. It's a blessing here in the United States that we have like sweet 16 parties. And like at 18, we celebrate, now you can go to a club. Or at 21, now I can officially drink. And nobody really thinks that people under 21 don't drink, right? So we know that 21 just makes it legal. And so our coming of age here in the United States is quite a bit different than coming of age anywhere else in the world. For us, it's more of a legal thing. It's more of a physical reality thing than it is that psychological or moral growth or that spiritual opening. There was a lot of people in the 60s and 70s that were hospitalized because people thought they had gone insane. And what was really actually happening was that a spiritual awakening was taking place in them, and they couldn't handle all of the influx of information that they got from it, you see. And so I want us to understand that sometimes growth and coming of age and psychological or spiritual opening can be a little painful. But again, we don't have to suffer in it. We don't have to allow ourselves to sit in the pain and suffer. What we do, in fact, is recognize what's going on, understanding that we're having a spiritual awakening. And while we're having that spiritual awakening, at the root of everything is God. And we can rely on that and just relax and allow it to be. Does that make sense? So this week, I'd like you to focus on those. You can look back at the past and see where you've come of age in various ways. Remember when you turned 18. Remember when you graduated from high school. Remember when you turned 21. Remember when you graduated college. Remember when you got married. Remember when you had children. Remember when you turned 30. Remember all of those milestones that you have been through. And then recognize what was the growth, the spiritual, the psychological, moral, and spiritual growth that you have accumulated for each one of those milestones. Remember that. Will you do that with me this week? And know that whatever milestone you are at right now, you're not looking into the future for a future milestone. You're staying in the present. Know that God is there with you, inside you, as you. Let's have a prayer. Oh, right now, I just turn my awareness to the infinite power, the infinite presence of God. To that place within me that knows beyond human understanding just how powerful God's power and presence is in our lives. And that is where I find myself, in the midst of God. My very essence, my very life, my very being. It is who and what I am. And every thought, every action, every deed is guided and led by that one ancient wisdom of the ages that is God flowing through me. It is in this awareness that I find God's team as my blessing in this life. Because I do know that we are all one. I know it for Faith and for Tina and for Oz and for Lynn. For we are one in that infinite power, that infinite presence of God. It is who and what we are. And our human doingness in this world is guided and led by that ancient wisdom of the ages that flows through us so perfectly. I know that same truth for everyone who is watching this, whether it be in real time or later on, because I do know that we are connected by it, through it, as it. There is no place where one leaves off and the other begins. There is only the oneness of God. Mitaku Yasin, all my brethren, we are all one. It is with that awareness that I bless this coming week. I bless it with so many opportunities for a psychological and or mental and or spiritual understanding that comes to us as we allow ourselves to embrace all that is. To know that we let go of the need for anyone to act any differently than they do, because we know that it led to our spiritual growth at that moment. We stop holding on to the past and thinking that there's somehow a way to change it. Instead, we focus our attention here on the present and glean those spiritual advances, those spiritual overcomings that have happened in our lives. We celebrate that today as we celebrate Faith's coming of age to 18. We celebrate our own coming of age this week, in whatever form it took, in whatever ways we did it. So I know that every name that is in the ministry of prayer today is going through some coming of age that is happening. I know that God is the answer, that God is so much more powerful than any of those circumstances, any of those experiences. And so I pull back the veil, revealing that God truth that lies underneath it. And I breathe into existence the knowingness of God. As I accept for them this new reality of God, here and now. I call it good and very good. And my heart is filled with gratitude and love as I just let this be. And so it is. Oof. I have to come back? Oh, okay. Right now is our opportunity to receive your gifts, tithes, and offerings, and your opportunity to express your gratitude for that which you have experienced already in physical form and that which you have manifested in the mind of God, but may not have necessarily seen in physical form yet. Please go to www.oasiscsl.org, and about 2/3 down the page is our offering affirmation, which in a minute I'm going to ask you to say with us. And then underneath that is our Contribute Now button. So let me talk just a little bit about contributing, because what you're contributing to is the feeling in someone's heart when they get this message. I know that it touches lives. What I don't always know is how far we can go with that. So when you contribute to the Oasis Center for Spiritual Living, what you are contributing to is our marketing out into the world so that people get this message, that people can actually feel that same feeling that you felt the first time you got the message. So please go to oasiscsl.org, showing there on the screen, and it is in the comments. About 2/3 down the page, please say this offering affirmation with me. This perfect gift is spirit in form, circulating and blessing all it touches. Freely I give and joyously I receive. And so it is. All right, hit that Contribute Now button. All right, here we are. Let's see. We have this wonderful ministry of prayer. We have licensed practitioners from coast to coast who pray every day on your prayer requests. And I love being able to say that they're coast to coast. We have Florida, Minnesota, Colorado, where else? California. So I love the idea that we have them coast to coast. Licensed practitioners are in school for at least, it's a minimum of 3 to 4 years. 2 years just in practitioner training alone, but there's 2 years of prep classes getting to practitioner training. And our licensed practitioners, we celebrate them so much because they are the healing arm of our church. And so if you are having a challenge that you really want to work on, I invite you to reach out to a practitioner. Now, today we have our 1-minute miracle after this service. Oz will be available for that. It isn't a time where you can let him know what's happening with you, or, that you, for spiritual guidance, you just let him know what is going on for you, and he will stop, drop, and pray with you right then and there. But our license, and you reach out to him by video chat. If he doesn't answer right away, it means he's probably talking to someone else, and so try back later. But also know that our licensed practitioners are available for spiritual guidance by appointment for a fee. And so you can reach out to them through our website or through Facebook, and find out how, you're going to arrange payment with them. It's either Cash App or Venmo or PayPal, something like that. I don't get involved in that. Each practitioner decides that on their own. You set up a payment, you make an appointment, and they will reach out to you by video chat. But take advantage of this loving service our practitioners provide, because they, like I said, they are the healing arm of the church, and they're the go-to people for any challenge that you're experiencing. So if you would like prayer for something, please put it in the comment section. If you don't want it to be public, you can reach out and direct message Faith or I, and we will make sure that it gets on that page. We have a private facing group page on Facebook that is for our God Squad. That's what we call our practitioners, is the God Squad. And we have this private page where all the prayer requests go and all of our God Squad members go to get the prayer requests every week. And so they will pray on those requests every day for a week. So either put it in the comments or a direct message Faith or I, and we'll make sure that that gets on there. If you would like to participate as a God Squad member, you don't necessarily have to be a licensed practitioner for this part of it. You can type yes in the comment section. You have to be willing to agree to do positive affirmative prayer every day for a week for those prayer requests and keep those requests confidential. And you must follow up on that in order to participate in the God Squad. Just say yes in the comment section in Faith, or I will add you to that private Facebook page. Also, if you would like to be a member of our online community, you can type more in the comment section, and Faith will add you to our group page that is public facing on Facebook so that you get information before anybody else gets it. That's where we post the first things, and then we post it everywhere else. So let's see. Bracelets and mala beads. Let me get to that. I've got these beautiful mala beads that she made me. And these are $60 because I requested them in amethyst. So depending on what the stone is, the gemstone, they cost a different price. So there are cheaper ones and there are more expensive ones. I love my mala beads. And her website is, well, actually, the proceeds go to Rocky Mountain Lab Rescue, which is a very worthy cause. You can contact her at brooksandbailey0307@gmail.com, but also she has a Facebook page now. So it's pretty cool. I love her bracelet. It has a little circle with a rod that goes through it. So it's only fallen off my wrist once in the almost 2 years that I've had it. And I lose bracelets like crazy. So that's saying something. And then we have Faith.
And please go check out the Mystic Brew. Our website is www.themysticbrew.com. The Etsy store has been closed. So don't go looking for us on Etsy. It's the easiest way to order from us is through our website. Also check out our Instagram and Facebook page at the Mystic Brew 303 for any fun upcoming events or deals that we might be doing in the future.
Cool. Thank you. You closed the Etsy store, huh? Okay. All right. And here is one of the intention jars. This was $15, I believe, this size. She made this one for me for prosperity. So I play with it a lot. The wax is starting to come off because I play with it so much when I'm working on prosperity. It's a great way to focus your attention on something and have a support for that. We also have an adjunct company. This is Angel Renee's products. She has candles, intention candles for $25, and these tea bags that you set in your in your bath to help you focus on your attention. Those are $10, and she has an Etsy store. So there is that. And then I always like to do a shout out to those people that have provided us with the ability to do music. I hear something going on here. I don't know what. What were you doing? That just looks so guilty. I wasn't doing anything. Nothing. Yeah. I'll check on it when I get up. All right. So anyway, the first of which is Reverend Fairy Elaine Silver. That's so many things to put in one name. I can't ever get it all right. Anyway, her website, she has a hard time changing her website. So go on there, see what CDs you want that you may not have. Maybe you're new to her music. I don't know. But go to her website, see what you want, and then you will have to contact her by email. She travels around the country singing, and so she always has CDs in the trunk of her car. So once you email her, she can let you know how to make payment to her, and then she'll send you the CD. She's very good about that. And then the second one is Karen Drucker. And Karen Drucker has gifted us with her entire collection of 20 CDs. And can we change that on the screen? Okay. There we go. There's Karen Drucker's website. And so we like to support those that support us. The reason we can do our music today, well, any day, any Sunday, is because we have karaoke files. You can buy it by the song. You can buy it by the CD. Like I said, there's a songbook. Some of them have American Sign Language. And so go to Karen Drucker's website and pick something out. I know you'll love any song that you get from her. We do a lot of her music on our Sundays. We do some from Reverend Fairy Lane Silver as well, but Karen Drucker's, for some reason, are really right on to the topics that we do. And then check out our website at oasiscsl.org. There you will find our previous sermons and our, we have videos for the last 2 years. Almost. Can you believe it's almost been 2 years, Faith, that we went live? Anyway, for the last almost 2 years, you'll see video sermons, and then you'll also have audio. You can listen to audio sermons from years prior. We are also on YouTube with the videos and SoundCloud for the audios, and that's under S. Tucker. So check us out. Look at some of the pictures and some of the fun events we used to have. One day we'll have another facility. Until that time, just tune in every Sunday. All right. We're going to move on to our final song here, which is also a Karen Drucker song. And it's a really good meme to get in your head. If you don't know the words, learn them and get them stuck in your head so you can't stop.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
And the blessings of God flow through all things, in all things, as all things. And I know that the same force that makes the huge oak grow makes the acorn sprout and grow into the future. And that each step of this, that force of God is urging each of us onward. Through all of these steps and all of these stages, it is all God, in and through and pushing us beyond. And I know that this brings blessings to all concerned. And I know that these blessings are good and very good. And I give thanks that they are so. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you for being here. I know there's 1,000 things you could be doing on a Sunday morning, and we are so blessed to have had you here with us today. Also, join us next week and every week at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time on Sunday mornings. We love having you here. Please come back. Stay safe out there. Wear a mask and get your vaccinations and your boosters. Bye. We love you.
Bye, everybody.